In the interest of DW for an emergency motion by the attorney ad litem for the child who is now a young adult. Let me get everyone who may testify. If you will raise your right hands to be sworn, please. All right. Do you all swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Yes? Yes. Okay. All right. With that, do we have Mr. Mangum? Ms. Iverson, you may present your motion.
I'll call the caseworker.
Right. Is that Ms. Lewis? Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Lewis, could you say your name for the record, please?
Jessica Lewis.
And Ms. Lewis, I'm going to be informal here since I don't really have anybody to object to it at this point in this case. Could you just tell the court what the situation is with Dakota?
So his level of care is being decreased on February 1st. And the RTC has sent out a 30-day notice saying that new placement needs to be found.
And would you agree with me that recently, fairly recently, the issue was, could the RTC keep him because he'd been having a couple of behavioral issues, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? It cut out.
Somewhat recently, the issue we were told was that he may not be able to stay because he was having some behavioral issues, right? They may need to have him be placed elsewhere.
There was an issue, I think, in September.
Right. And now, and he has kept it between the lines. He has improved his behavior. And now the issue becomes that they can't keep him because he's doing what they asked him to do, right?
Correct.
He's a senior in high school, right?
Yes.
He is set to graduate in May.
Yes.
And so really all that we're looking for here is possibly just keeping him until he graduates, right?
I have to follow policy and just try to find different placement.
Object to non-responsive.
Sustained.
Would you agree with me if there's a possibility, if not likelihood or probability, that if Dakota's uprooted, his behaviors will just deteriorate?
Yes.
How long has he been where he's placed now?
June of 21 was when he
And and would you agree that he's doing well in school where he is?
Yes.
And there's a probability that he will lose credits if he's moved to a different school? Yes?
I'm sure it's possible, yes.
And therefore he would not be graduating in May, correct?
Yeah.
This is speculative.
I'm
Sustained.
sorry, I didn't hear the objection. I'm sorry.
To speculation, and I sustained
Does
it.
the department currently have any suggested family members fictive kin placement at all?
No.
Does Dakota want to stay where he is until he graduates?
I believe he does, yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dick.
Ms. Lewis, is the department searching for an appropriate placement for Dakota at this time?
Yes.
Are they searching for a placement? Is it possible for him to get a placement in his current school district?
I don't know yet. I sent out the request and we're seeing if there's anything available.
All right. And is it the department's policy that if a level of care is dropped, that the child has to be put in a different placement than an RTC?
Yes.
All right. Are there any exceptions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Objection calls for speculation and legal conclusion.
Overruled.
All right. Could you repeat your answer, please?
I said not that I'm aware of.
All right. Thank you. No further questions. I'll pass the witness.
So, Ms. Lewis, when is the 30 days?
His level of care changes on February 1st.
Okay, I do remember that. So, but you seem to indicate that the RTC has already put in a request to move.
Yes, by February 1st.
Okay.
Ms. Lewis, what if something happened between now and then? What would the department's procedure be?
Do you mean like if his level of care changed again? Or,
Yes, ma'am.
I suppose if it was moved back up to specialized, he could stay.
That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So will his level become on February the 1st moderate?
Yes,
And has he been in this RTC since June of 2021?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
and he is in extended care, correct?
correct.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions of Ms. Lewis, then Ms. Iverson, you may call your next.
I have just one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Lewis, is the RTC licensed for moderate level children?
They are not.
Ms. Dick, could you please repeat your question? I lost you
Sorry.
there.
I asked Ms. Lewis, is the RTC licensed for moderate level kids? And could you answer again, Ms. Lewis?
They're not.
Thank you.
How much does an RTC receive for a specialized child per month?
I'm not sure.
Do you know the difference in how much money they receive for specialized versus moderate?
I do not know.
Yes, past witness.
All right, thank you. You may call your next.
Ms. Tanous?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Are you
Wait,
there?
Ms. Iverson, whom did you call?
Ms. Tanous? She would be new to you, Judge. She's at Lone Oak ISD.
And let me get your name one more time.
Yeah, it's last name Tanous. T as in Tom, A, N as in Nancy, O-O-S as in Sam.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Tanous, could you state your position, please?
My position is based here at Lone Oak High School campus. I'm the Director of Special Populations.
And what does that entail, that position?
It entails the administration of the federal paperwork and meetings for all of the special ed students and the 504 students on this campus.
And what is your relation to Dakota Wilson?
I think in layman's terms, probably case manager would be the best description.
How much would you say in a month you interact with Dakota
I'm sorry, I didn't
on
hear you.
average? How much would you say on average you interact with Dakota in say a month, or whatever time period you choose is actually fine, a week, a month?
I see him either in his classroom or in the hallways daily, often more than once,
How long has that been the case?
since he began as a student here in August of 21 as a junior student.
And what is your assessment of his abilities, disabilities, capabilities?
After reviewing his paperwork when he first transferred and then interacting with him, we had some concerns regarding his evaluations he transferred with. So he was referred through the special ed ARD meeting for additional evaluations. And the results of those are: primary disability is autism, secondary disability is intellectual disability, tertiary is speech impairment, and then the fourth was vision impairment. And he was also served last year with orientation and mobility therapist out of Region 10 in Dallas.
This may well be outside your realm of knowledge, but are these things factored in determining a child's status as moderate versus specialized?
That is unknown by me.
Okay, so you know the answer to this. What credits, if any, would Dakota lose were he to be transferred from his current educational situation?
I am not sure exactly what credits, but the risk probably would be regarding his special ed electives. He is enrolled in 2 special ed elective classes through our life skills program. One is daily living skills class, and the other is a vocational skills class.
And his last semester of high school is currently already underway, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
He is set to graduate in May, correct?
Yes, our last day of school is May 25th, and graduation will take place that Saturday, May 27th. And there are many of us on staff here who are eagerly looking forward to being able to clap and cheer as he wears his cap and gown and walks across the stage. He's worked hard for that.
And so, just to be obvious and redundant, what, in your opinion, would be in his best interest?
I believe in Dakota's best interest being able to maintain consistency of environment and setting between now and his graduation date. Since he arrived, the changes that we have seen with him have been, his behavior has stabilized. He's less argumentative. He's significantly improved his rate of remaining in the classroom, which was a significant problem when he first came. He has developed positive relationships and built trust with his teachers, our administrative staff, the office staff. We've been able to provide transitional related opportunities for him in addition to his academics here. I won't go into those details unless you ask, but he's had many opportunities here because we are not a huge school that we can focus more individually with him. And I do believe he's made friends and is happy.
And what do you believe? Let me rephrase that again. What are your concerns were he to be uprooted, especially before he's able to graduate in May?
I believe it would off balance him. It would frustrate him due to his autism. There are traits of fixation, and he does not do well with change, especially unexpected and significant change all at once due to his intellectual disability. I believe that his ability to process, he would understand on some level, but not to the nuanced and gray area level that the law is requiring this change. I think he would become potentially not physically, but verbally combative and be quite angry. And in that, I don't know if he would recover and balance out quickly enough to be successful in earning his remaining credits for the semester wherever he was sent.
Is there anything else you'd like the court to know that I haven't asked you about?
He really has blossomed here. And it's very hard to see a child blossom because he's finally in an environment where it provides the appropriate structure to help them succeed. And then because they improve, they have to leave when it was that structure that helps them improve. And
Does that seem fair to you?
well, no, but that's a soapbox for a broader issue regarding the system. But for Dakota, I think given his autism and given his intellectual disability, that it would make this situation more difficult than it would be normally difficult for a gen ed student.
And by gen ed, you mean
General education,
education.
not served through special ed.
I'll pass the witness.
I really feel like he's worked hard and earned this right to be able to go through the time-honored tradition of graduating high school and wearing a cap and gown and being able to do that amongst faces he's gone to school with for the last 2 years. Not to mention that on an extracurricular basis, he's looking forward to trying out for the high school baseball team.
Thank you for mentioning that. You're right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. To Ms. Dick, but before we do that, Ms. Tenus, are you aware of whether anyone from the department or Star Health or anyone who was reviewing the child's level of care contacted the school?
I am not aware that they did. If they did, no one was referred to me to discuss it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Dick?
No questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or witnesses? Ms. Iverson?
Yes, sir. I'll call Mr. Mangum.
Okay, may Ms. Tanus be excused?
Yes, sir. As far as I'm concerned.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so very much for your time, your assistance in this matter, and all of the work that you do, especially right now with Dakota.
Thank you. He's a special kid.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So you're excused. Okay, and you called Mr. Mangum, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's see if he is here. There we are. Okay, and were you sworn in, Mr. Mangum?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, very good. You may proceed. Ms. Iverson?
Mr. Mangum, could you state your name for the record, please?
Dallas Mangum.
And what's your role in this case?
I am a Dakota's CASA ad litem.
And is there anything that Ms. Tanus has testified to that you would disagree with?
Absolutely nothing.
Is there anything you'd like to add to it?
I would just add to what she said. I cannot see how this won't be negative. And the reasoning for it just doesn't seem fair, as you said. We're only looking for a few months to get him graduated. He has put in a lot of work. That particular school district, as you can just tell by Ms. Tanus and her being off today, has taken excellent care of him, has shown pride in making him what education should do. And to uproot him from that right now just seems tragic.
How long have you known Dakota and been his CASA?
January 2020.
Fair to say you know him pretty well.
Fairly well, yes. And baseball is he wants to play baseball really bad.
How long has he been wanting to play baseball really bad?
Let's see. Our first practice was probably in summer of last year, so 8 months solid.
So just another factor in the uprooting.
Oh, it would be. It's going to be a challenge there at Lone Oak with all the support we have. Moving at this late in stage. I mean, actually, baseball tryouts is 2 weeks from today. So moving, I mean, it wouldn't be possible.
And knowing him as long and as well as you do, what are your concerns? What is your prediction? What do you think what his reaction would be were he to be moved right after or by February 1st, I guess?
I think he'd probably be ready to pull the cord, go do something outside of somebody else dictating his control.
And so by pulling the cord, what specifically do you mean by that?
I don't really know what I mean. The possibilities are all negative. I don't see any outcome that has a positive one, at least in the short term. They're all negative. I mean, we will work hard and make them positive, but
Sure.
In the short term, they're all negative outcomes, and possibly for the long term as well.
Are you concerned that if he does not graduate in May in his current situation, if he is moved and loses credit, are you concerned that graduation will never happen in his future, in his life?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Let's pause there just for a moment. I know that I excused Ms. Tanus, but I thought of a question that I had actually failed to ask her. Are you still there? I still see. I am
still here, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I did have a question for you before you got away, reminding you you're still under oath. And the question is this: Are you aware of anyone, on staff or anyone who knows Dakota, who would be willing and able to be considered as a placement for him? In other words, with whom he might live until graduation.
On the assumption that RTC would not issue a waiver?
Yes.
Not at this time.
This is
a very small town.
Yes. Well, that's a good thing, generally. So if you do think of anyone, would you let CASA, Mr. Mangum, or Ms. Iverson, Dakota's attorney, know?
Yes, I absolutely will.
Okay.
And might I ask if I may ask a question?
You may. I will take that.
Okay. My question actually, I don't know how the legal paperwork and procedures work with RTC and CPS, but I know that any conversation I have had with staff at the house since Dakota arrived has been pretty positive regarding him. You know, yes, he has some behavioral issues, but he does tend to grow on people. And I'm just wondering if there's not some way, or has CPS a process by which they could apply for a waiver to the RTC in order to keep Dakota there until he graduates.
Well, that's certainly what we're about to get into in terms of that that possibility.
Okay.
So, but thank you for that. Any other questions for Ms. Tanus from anyone? All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so Mr. Mangum is on the stand. Ms. Dick, any questions of him?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Iverson, back to you.
That's all I've got, Judge.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mangum. All right, Ms. Lewis, are you aware of any possibility of applying for some sort of waiver or variance or extension with the RTC?
I don't think that's an option.
Ms. Lewis, is this something you've looked into and tried and asked about?
No, it's not, but I'm being told that it's not an option.
You mean as we sit in court here today?
I received a message, yes.
Your Honor, I'll just say it's happened in other cases. So I know that it's not an impossibility.
How long, Ms. Lewis, if you know, how long had it been since Dakota's level of care was evaluated?
I think it was just a few months prior to the new one, maybe 4 months. Or I'm not positive, but I think it was just a couple months before.
And so sitting here today, the department does not have placement for the young adult come February the 1st.
We don't have a placement at this moment, no.
And he's too old to go into CWAP, correct?
I think so.
I have a question, Your Honor.
For Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Lewis, is it possible for you to check with the placement unit for a waiver?
Yes.
Has that been done?
Not yet.
All right. I said, in order to check with placement unit for a waiver, will that require an evaluation of his level again?
I'm not entirely sure. I would have to check with my supervisor about how that works.
Thank you. No further questions.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Ms. Dick. Go ahead, Ms. Iverson.
So, Ms. Lewis, I just want to make sure I understand. You have not looked into the option of a waiver.
Not yet, no.
So we're looking at uprooting Dakota without even having looked into the option of a waiver.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't aware that that was even an option until this morning.
Are you aware whether or not Dakota's disabilities and challenges, specifically his autism, are factored into his status?
I believe it's a part of, yeah, a part of it, yes. Or should be.
Have you discussed that with the RTC?
No.
And would you agree with me that moving him is premature because we've got some pretty basic steps here that have not been taken?
There are some things we need to look into before.
And would you agree with me that we all owe that to him? Try
Yes.
as witness.
Okay, so Ms. Lewis, what are those things?
The only one I know of is, I guess, to check with the placement unit for
Okay.
a waiver.
Regarding waiver, okay. Let me ask you this. What is Dakota's goal? Is it independent living?
I think it was community care, and then the concurrent was independent living.
Okay, so my question is for you, for Mr. Mangum, and for Ms. Iverson. At this point, or in the near future, is Dakota able, in all ways able, to live, for an example, in an apartment with a roommate?
I think he could.
Okay, and we
I
might,
think
Am I unmuted?
you are,
you are.
Okay. At some point, yes. I mean, he would have the difficulties any 18-year-old would have, plus what his other issues. But
Right.
yeah, he's a street smart kid. He can get things done.
okay, all right. Because again, obviously he's in extended care, and that's that would be envisioned under the department's goals, it seems. Though I don't think at this point that would be ideal, certainly. Anything else you want to present today, Ms. Iverson? Maybe before you answer that, and you could change my mind, but before you answer that, what I intend to do is recess this hearing, take your motion under advisement in the interim, and reset the hearing to the 23rd, and in the interim order that the department not move the child, that the department maintain the child's enrollment in Lone Oak High School, that the department reevaluate his level of care, and the department make all reasonable efforts to apply for a waiver in regards to the placement unit and the RTC. So does anyone have an additional idea or a better idea?
No, sir. Just thank you.
This is actually really smart. Nothing in these departments moves quickly, so taking a pause and ordering a reevaluation of his needs might just give him enough time to get those last few months in and graduate. In the meantime, sadly, we gotta hope for some behaviors so that his level can stay where it is, because the disgusting fact of the matter is the RTC isn't going to get enough money for him because of the reduced level of care. So let's keep his level of care where it's at. This assessment will take longer than he has left in school. Fingers crossed.
Well, I think we're probably all on the same page in terms of what's best for Dakota. And this is certainly not the first or the 1,000th time we all feel somewhat hamstrung by policy and the like necessary policy. So I am going to recess this hearing until 9 a.m. on the 23rd. And Ms. Iverson, if you will prepare an order that orders no move of the young adult from his RTC, nor from the school in which he's enrolled, that a reevaluation of his level of care shall occur, and that the department make all reasonable efforts in good faith to obtain a waiver by way of the placement unit and the RTC.
Sure.
All right, and once Ms. Dick has signed that, and you've signed it, then forward it to me electronically, and I'll sign it. Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
Anna.
sir.
Okay. So thank you all very much, Ms. Lewis, Mr. Mangum. So with that, you all are excused. We'll see you back on the 23rd.